Before I begin, I would like to ask you to take a look through the Google Doc I've included in my submission, as it includes the questions I am answering, a copy of my script, the sources I am referring to, sources for the photos I have used in my visual representation, as well as a link to my visual representation. To begin, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Haley Harris, and I am a queer, white, colonial settler Canadian. I am also a student teacher with a heavily Eurocentric-centered educational background, who is working to break down these views and thoughts to improve my teaching for my future students. In relation to treaties, I view myself as a learner with a colonial view, as this was how I was educated. This is represented with the student graphic on my visual representation. I am attempting to dismantle the ideas I have been taught and develop a more sacred understanding of treaties, also known as kihci-asotamâtowin. I also understand myself in relation to treaties as someone who can listen, uplift, and learn from Indigenous voices and ways of knowing. Another way I practice miskâsowin is by acknowledging the impacts my ancestors could have had. Many of my ancestors have been on the continent of North America since at least the early 17th century, colonizing from many different European countries, including Germany and Switzerland. They traveled between what is now known as the United States and Canada for many years. Thus, my ancestors would have had interactions with Indigenous people and would have been in the country when many horrendous acts were put into place. This knowledge comes from family history books and my family tree my mom created. This is also why I have included a transparent map of North America in my visual representation, as my ancestors have been here for many decades. As represented by the pen on my visual representation, primary school taught me a colonial perspective of treaties. I viewed them as negotiations about land, written documents signed into law, and had a very limited understanding of what they truly indicated. I also had very limited access to learn more about the treaties during this time. I lived on Treaty 6 territory in a small town, which I have indicated on my map with number 6. It was not until I began at university and moved to Regina on Treaty 4 territory that I began to break down these beliefs and learn more sacred understandings of treaties. This is why I've included a graphic of a city and the number 4 on my visual representation. During this time, I have started to learn about the significance of treaties and why they are crucial to include in classroom teaching. I have also learned that treaties are more than written agreements. They were a way for Indigenous people to secure respect for their relations with the Creator. I have also been provided with the opportunities to learn more about Indigenous ways of knowing, including information about ceremonies, values, and culture. I now understand treaties as sacred and spiritual in multiple ways. I understand Indigenous people have a deeper understanding and relationship with treaties due to cultural ties and knowledge that white settlers do not have. They are spiritual as they solidify a connection with the Creator, which is represented by 2 chain links on my visual representation. My current practices include respecting the environment, or miskâsowin, which includes walking to school, using the bus, or driving as little as possible. I have included a graphic of somebody walking to represent my best of respecting the environment that I live in. I also tend to appreciate the spaces I am in, like taking in the nature around me and respecting the non-human relatives I encounter. To represent the respect I give to my non-human relatives, I've included an animal on my visual representation. I also do my best to respect and learn about Indigenous people and the culture. I tend to uplift Indigenous voices and listen to Indigenous creators and learn from elders and other Indigenous educators. I'm also respectful when I interact and learn with Indigenous culture. In my everyday life, I respect those I meet in daily life, also known as kihci-asotamâtowin. Lastly, one of the main ways I follow and promote treaty is by developing and maintaining relationships, which is miskâsowin. This is shown with the photos of my family and loved ones along the background of my visual representation. Lastly, as an educator, I'm going to invite knowledge keepers regularly into my classroom, do my best to include Indigenous voices in the classroom, try to respectfully include Indigenous learning methods such as repetition and practice into my classroom, include Indigenous ways of knowing respectfully, such as sharing circles and land-based learning in my classroom lessons. I also will ensure that the history I am teaching is from both perspectives and do my best to deconstruct Eurocentric views of education that I have.